Hey everyone, thank you so much for logging in today. We've got our clinical quality experts webinar going on right now, and our topic for today is MIPS Tips 2023. Don't overlook the improvement activity category. All right, so let me see here. So this is me, Katie Buckholtz. Nothing too exciting. It's all the bio stuff, blah, blah, blah. All right, moving on to why you're really here. We're going to go over just a little bit of a kind of a disclaimer, I guess. So everything that's here, it will be superseded by what you see on the Quality Payment Program website. So whenever you're in doubt, go there. These are the websites, or this is the website, and then this is the email address, the qpp@cms.hhs.gov. That'll help you out if you ever have any questions or anything like that. Also, too, we're doing a recording and it's going to be made available after the presentation. You can also we'll be able to go to our website, clinicalqualityexperts.com/webinars. And then if you have any questions or anything, give me a shout. You can enter them in the questions in the little panel there, or you can also email me directly and you'll see my email a little bit later on. All right. So for today, here's our agenda. We're going to go through why we shouldn't overlook the improvement activity category. I'm going to dive into the improvement activities and traditional MIPS and scoring importance. And those two things are going to highlight why you don't want to overlook this category. So once we've established the importance of this category, we're going to go through and do a crash course for you. The who, the when, and the how. And then we're also going to go through some resources to help, including our newest offering, which we look forward to showing you at the end. All right, so if anybody hasn't attended one of my webinars before, I'm a doodler, so I doodle a lot. And so today, it's time to meet Haley. So Haley is my bulldog rescue pup. And as you can see here, she loves clinical quality experts, which we usually abbreviate to CQE. So anyway, Haley is going to be offering helpful tips throughout the webinar today. And when you see that picture, pay attention because a CQE tip is going to be coming up. All right, so what we're going to do is it's time for Haley's first tip. So if you need additional information on like policies or hardships or category reweighting, basically anything related to the quality payment program, you're going to go to this website at the bottom. So qpp.cms.gov, resources, resource library. So I took a little screenshot from here today. Just when you go there, just as a tip, make sure you check back frequently for policy and rule shifts or updates. So for example, the data validation criteria for improvement activities, like what Medicare would look for if you were audited, it changes from year to year and sometimes within the year. And the only thing you get is a little note on the side. I highlighted it in my little copy and paste here today, where it says updated indicator. So that's one of our tips is to kind of show the importance of the improvement activities is the information changes frequently. So you want to make sure that you're getting the most up-to-date information if you're doing it on your own. Another option is you could hire us. We manage Medicare regulatory reporting needs, and we have different service levels and we can be as involved or uninvolved as you like. So we'll move on. And we're going to go into looking at establishing the importance of the improvement activity category. So why is it important? So up on the screen here, you're going to see how traditional MIPS is scored. You'll see a little area underneath the name of the category that's in parentheses. And what appears in parentheses is the tracking method that for most of the clinics that we work with, that's the entity that tracks that particular category. There are certainly other reporting options, but this is just primarily what we see in most cases. So frequently, what we see is most clinics give the two heaviest weighted categories. They give those the most attention, which makes sense. And improvement activities in traditional weight, it is it does weigh the least, and can kind of take a back seat attention-wise. So typically, 15% of your final score, one of the four categories that makes up your MIPS final score, and the lowest weighted until it isn't. So if you start to look, if you're a clinic who needs to utilize a different performance category redistribution policy for MIPS reporting, the improvement activities can start to increase in weight and therefore importance in your final score. So for example, here's alternate scenario 1. You see that the improvement activity category has increased from 15% of your final score to 30% of your final score. And this is sometimes what we see with small practices when they're reporting. A small practice is 15 or fewer providers. And if the small practice decides to use the automatic small practice hardship for promoting interoperability, the 25% weight shifts to 0%. And then as you see here, quality and improvement activities increase in weight. And now the improvement activity category is worth 30% of the final score in this scenario. Or when we look at these two alternate scenarios, suddenly the improvement activity category can jump from 15% to 50% of your final score. So all of a sudden that becomes equally as important as your quality category that registries will typically track, or it can also become as highly weighted as the cost category, which is directly tracked by CMS or Medicare. So the biggest takeaway here is that the improvement activity category is not a throwaway category like some people consider, simply because the improvement activity category can jump from 15% to 50% of the final score. So we've established that improvement activities shouldn't be overlooked. So let's go then into a bit of a crash course to discuss some facts and nuances of the category. And for all of these different things that we're going to discuss, there's a quick start guide, there's resources on the Quality Payment Program website. And if you don't want to mess with having yourself or a dedicated staff member keep up on changes, give us a shout. That's what we're here for. All right. So here comes our little crash course. So we're going to discuss a few different things, and we're going to look first at the who aspect of the improvement activities. So the first question that we have to answer is, are you or your physicians eligible to report? And you can check your eligibility status by entering a physician's NPI number in the lookup tool on the Quality Payment Program website. You can also log in, create a login, and log into it and see everybody's eligibility status just by scrolling. That's a little easier if you're just wanting to do a quick check. You can use this little tool here. It appears on their homepage. But when you check eligibility, you need to go through these steps and go through these 5 steps every year, because it can sometimes be a little bit tricky. So first step, check your current status and just keep an eye out that this can change throughout the year. All right. Then your second one here is we want to review your participation for all associated practices. So let's say you're a physician and you're affiliated with multiple tax ID numbers. You want to make sure that all of your tax ID numbers what the participation requirements are, and also what CMS is looking for. And again, this can change throughout the year. Next part is figure out your participation options. So in certain scenarios, you can claim hardships if they apply for certain categories. And sometimes they don't apply. So just it's kind of like if you're taking a trip and you're on the little GPS map application on your phone, you have alternate routes. So just know what your alternate routes are and keep your options open. And that brings us to step 4 here, which is plan for all contingencies if your eligibility changes. So kind of just try to forecast, okay, what could possibly happen? Who could possibly be on my list to report? And then ultimately in December of the performance year, check your final eligibility status. So our tip for this slide is participation statuses change throughout the year, and you won't know your final eligibility status until December of the performance year. So you won't know your physician's final eligibility status until this December. And so therefore, it's really important to have a plan for all possible reporting scenarios. All right. Another aspect of the who part of our crash course here is that if you are eligible for group reporting with a practice, 50% of the eligible clinicians in that group have to demonstrate active participation. So in case you're ever audited, you have to show that 50% of the physicians, at least, are participating actively in the improvement activities. All right, now let's go into the when of the improvement activity category. So for 2023, when we report is going to be during the reporting window, and that occurs after the year is over, and it goes for 2023's performance year, it runs January 2nd through April 1st of next year. So that's when you report all of your MIPS activities and measures. And then thinking about like, okay, how long do I have to perform an improvement activity? Most improvement activities have a continuous 90-day performance period. But there are several activities that require like a completion of modules where there's like a year-long or an alternate performance period. If that's the case, it'll say so in the activity definition. So like as an example, there's a care transition documentation practice improvements is an improvement activity. That has a 30-day reporting period. But you'll find that in the definition of the activity that you choose to report. Okay, so let's go into how. How do we go about our improvement activities? How do we go about figuring out how many we need to do, or which ones we need to do, or how do we select from over 100 options? So remember your goal. The goal here is to get 40 points for the category, and that will be reweighted depending on the situation. But the goal is 40 points. You have over 100 activity options, and your point value ranges from 10 to 40 points per activity. Most clinicians have to implement and attest to 2 to 4 improvement activities to receive the maximum score of 40 points in the performance category. Unless, here's a little tip here, if you have a special status designation, and you can see that when you check your final eligibility in December. If you have a special status designation, and that's a small practice, which is 15 or fewer clinicians, if you're non-patient facing, if you're in a rural setting, or if you're in a health professional shortage area, then clinicians or groups with these statuses receive double the points for the activity. And we'll go into that a little bit further here. So what you see here is for traditional MIPS eligible clinicians and groups, a medium weight activity is worth 10 points. A high weighted activity is worth 20. Now, if you have a special status designation, then those point totals double. So a medium weight activity would then be worth 20 points, and a high weighted activity would then be worth 40 points. So those are some things to keep in mind as you're looking at the list and trying to select which are the most meaningful activities for you to report on. Now here's a couple of tips here. Don't report more activities than is required. And here's why. You can't earn more than 40 points in this performance category, regardless of the number of activities you submit. So you could report all of the improvement activities on the list. You would still only earn 40 points. Another thing to look out for is that some submission platforms may only allow you to attest to more activities than you need to. So just keep an eye out and keep track of what's required. Because something to keep in mind is even if you do attest to more than your 40 points worth of activities, you're still responsible for compiling and maintaining documentation for all the activities for which you attest, even though these additional activities won't increase your score at all. All right, so just don't do more than is required because it won't benefit your score, and you'll have to produce documentation and could be audited on those activities in the future. So just reduce your headache. Also, if you are reporting as a group and you know throughout the year that you're planning to increase the number of physicians who are employed at your practice, keep an eye out on the number of physicians, because if you move from 15 clinicians to 16 clinicians, you will need to increase your number of improvement activities, because then you would lose the small group special status designation. So something like we would recommend to our clients who are anticipating adding on a physician or two and who could possibly go from small group to large group status. When we're looking at planning out the plan of attack for the year for MIPS, we would look at that and say, okay, well, maybe let's err on the side of caution and make sure we're reporting for the traditional number of activities and the traditional point value, just in case we have to. All right, so now you've determined how many activities you need to compile data for and for which you need to document. Now we're looking at this list and we're like, oh my goodness, how do we choose this? So first, download the improvement activity data validation file from the quality payment program. And as a tip, always download the current performance year's file, because activities are removed, they're changed, and they're added each year. So it's not a case of, well, we've always seen this on the list. It could have been removed. So always make sure you're working with the latest data validation file. And then another option here is you can narrow down your choices by an activity subcategory. And there are 8 here. So 8 different subcategories. If you're thinking like, oh, maybe we could look at this one, or we really want to improve our practice access to patients, then you would kind of look more towards that subcategory for activity choices. Another part is that think about initiatives that you're taking this year and see if any improvement activities align with those initiatives. So for example, there's like if you're planning to change to a new EHR, or you're planning on opening a new facility, or you want to narrow down and kind of lock down your staff process for explaining financial obligations to patients. Like those all have improvement activities that could very nicely dovetail into those initiatives. And then also too, there's a little tool on the Quality Payment Program website. It's called Explore Measures and Activities. And you can do a little search there and kind of look through what the search results are. And then also consider how you are reporting. And what I mean by that is many of our clients use a registry that tracks their quality category. And that registry usually will offer the option of where you can like input your promoting interoperability and your improvement activities and send it all off to CMS in one nice little package. Something to check though is check with the registry to see what improvement activities they are going to display as options to report. Sometimes they'll display like kind of a truncated list. So if your activities are unavailable, you may have to consider attesting to your improvement activities directly using the Quality Payment Program website. And then also ultimately, you know, our team can help you with your choices. We love being creative. We make it so that you don't have to work harder than you need to. And you know, that way you can save your energy for all the other things that you have to do at your clinic. All right. So kind of going along those same lines of reporting and how we report. Regardless of whether you submit your activities using a registry or directly to the Quality Payment Program, after all this work is done and you've chosen your activities and you've put together your documentation, all you have to do is click a box by your chosen activities and enter the dates for when you performed the activities. You don't have to upload anything. But just keep in mind, like, don't allow yourself to not put the documentation together because Medicare can issue a data validation audit for your documentation for up to 6 years. And so, you know, if you're getting audited for something that happened like 5 years ago, do you know where your improvement activity documentation is? Because that way it'll save you some heartache and struggle in trying to locate it and trying to put it all together. So just remember that 6 years is the look back period for which CMS can do an audit. So keep that in mind. And then just as a tip, what we've found is that improvement activity documentation and records, they're maintained by the physician or clinic. But what we found is just try to be sure to have more than one person at the clinic who knows where the documentation is located. You can put it in your protocols manual for the clinic. If you have a lot of staff turnover for a particular year, you want to know where this stuff is. You want to make sure that it's all accounted for. All right. If you'd like, grab your phone, take a screenshot. Here are some resources. If you need future guidance or anything, you've got the Quality Payment Program Resource Library. That is bookmarked on desktop. It's a great resource. And then also too, we've got our team's website, and also which has like services, how you can reach out to us, and then also too our LinkedIn profile. Follow us because as announcements come through, we'll do blasts out and post about just sudden changes that have occurred with MIPS reporting or deadlines that are coming up. So follow us on that. And then something that we're super excited, speaking of resources, is we're going to introduce with this webinar the newest service from Clinical Quality Experts, and it's our improvement activity guide packets. So what we did was we created an industry first, basically they're improvement activity kits. You can choose from multiple medium weight and high weight workbooks, and you get to create customized relevant documentation that's that'll help you satisfy your MIPS reporting requirements for a given performance year. Got multiple options. If you're struggling with like, oh man, we're in our last 90 days and I'm not sure how to document the improvement activities that we've chosen, come and look at this list. Also, if you need some help like deciding like which one might be best for your practice, give us a shout. We're happy to kind of help you choose. And so the thing to keep in mind with activities and what these activities here are designed to do is to make them work for your clinic while simultaneously positively affecting your final score and protecting yourself from future audits. The kits create nice little documents where you can put it in your audit file in case of an audit. And so if you need to take a screenshot or anything of this page, please help yourself, and these kits are available now if you'd like. And also too, we've kind of streamlined our service tiers. So if you need a resource to hire out your Medicare reporting regulatory management, reach out to us. We have different service tiers and would be happy to consult and make recommendations. And that's my contact information is up on the screen. So feel free to write it down and reach out to me. I'd love to chat. So, and that, guys, wraps up why we shouldn't overlook the improvement activity category, and also hopefully give you some ideas on things to keep in mind when you're thinking about your improvement activities. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. I'll put my email back up on the screen here. And please feel free to reach out to us. Follow us on LinkedIn for announcements, and check out our website. And hopefully we can help you guys out, take some of the mystery out of MIPS reporting. All right, guys. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day, and let us know how we can help.